of the Historic Resource Commission is now in order at 4:03 p.m. It is to the next commission monthly meeting business meeting will be December 7th, 2021. That will be a virtual hearing also via WebEx. And the next commission hearing will be at 4 p.m. Thursday, January 21st, 2021. And that will also be a visual hearing via WebEx. Next item on the agenda is the swearing in of the staff. I believe Connie's the only one here this evening. Do you swear to tell the truth in your testimony before the commission this evening? If so, say I do, and state your name and your position with the city.
Connie Torbeck, Assistant Historic Preservation Officer. I do.
Thank you. Our next item is the presentation of the and roll call of the commissioners who are present. Jackie Barton. Your mic's not on.
Present.
Thank you.
Present.
Sorry. Stuart Gibney.
Present.
Joseph McCabe.
Present.
Aaron Prosser.
Present.
And I am Clyde Henry, and I'm chairing the meeting this evening. Everyone is in attendance. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for Thursday, November 19th, 2020. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Okay, Joseph McCabe made a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
This is Aaron, second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the minutes? If not, I will call the roll. Aaron Prosser.
Yes.
Jackie Barton.
Yes.
Stuart Gibney.
Yes.
Joseph McCabe.
Yes.
And I, Clyde Henry, also vote yes. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the staff approvals, and I want to note that item 5 on the agenda has been moved to staff approval, and item 8 on the agenda has also been moved to staff approval. Any discussion or any questions on any of the items that have been placed in staff approval? Okay, do I hear a motion?
Motion to accept the staff approvals as notated and presented.
Okay, and I believe that was Joseph McCabe making the motion. Is there a second?
Second, Jackie Barton.
And Jackie seconded it. Any further discussion on the staff approvals? If not, then we will do the roll. Joseph McCabe.
Yes.
Aaron Prosser.
Yes.
Jackie Barton.
Yes.
Stuart Gibney.
Yes.
And I, Clyde Henry, also vote yes. We're moving right along. Next, we're up to public forum. Connie, do we have anything on the public forum this evening?
No public forum.
Great. Okay, we are up to the applications for certificates of approval. This item on the agenda is 1578 and 1580 Bryden Road. Connie, will you take us through that?
Yes, this is applicant Daryl Allen was not able to get on to the meeting last month. He was going to try to get on this month. I don't see him present, and at the business meeting it was discussed that the commission thought they would probably go ahead and act on it in the absence of the applicant. if he was not present this time, and I passed that information along to the applicant and sort of indicated what the commission had thought that they would probably do for that. So it is to completed work, that work that was done prior to review, to demolish the existing 2-story service and sleeping porch on the rear and to paint the rear exterior wall of the brick house. And I did realize since then that the rear wall was painted previously. I thought it wasn't, but it was painted a color to match the brick, and now it's painted brown. Yeah, brown. And then also was requesting to build a new 3-story deck with pressure treated lumber. So the proposed 3-story deck is not compatible with the size, scale, color, material, and character of the property, its environment, and surrounding contributing properties. That's what CC 3116.119 says. The commission has consistently not approved painting of the unpainted exterior brick of stone walls, although, as I said, I did realize that it was previously painted, just in my opinion, the wrong color. Staff has discussed the guidelines and code with the applicant, as well as appropriate construction of a new rear 2-story porch, similar to the original service and sleeping porch. Staff does not support the currently proposed 3-story rear deck and recommends denial. Recommend that the previously painted rear brick wall be painted a reddish color to match the natural brick color as closely as possible, and recommend construction of a new 2-story porch addition based on the historic footprint of the original service sleeping porch. And there is currently a open code order on this property for doing those 2 things without approval.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody here this evening representing this project? I don't see anybody. Commissioners, any discussion?
I actually do have a quick question for Connie, just for clarification. What was the date of formation of this district? Only because I did notice that in the world of Google and Google imagery, there are street views of the alley that show 2011 2011 photo that the back wall was not painted in the year 2011. So just clarification on when you believe the wall was approved for painting.
I don't think it was ever approved for painting. I think it was painted at some point. It was a different color. So I don't know when that was done.
Do you know when this became a historical district?
I can never remember all of those, but I think it's probably in the 80s, like most of them. It's been a long time.
So that the basis of any decision would contemplate the fact that even in 2011 that wall was still unpainted.
Yeah, I mean, are you sure that is? Because there was one that I looked at and I thought it was unpainted, and then when I looked at it closer, I could see that it was painted because of the mortar joints.
But Connie, does the code order include the painting of the brick?
Yes, because it was painted a different color, whether it was painted before or not.
Okay.
See right there, there it's painted, whatever year that is. Because you can see over on the left some of the paint coming off, it looks like.
Ah, okay.
It just was a good color. It fooled me at first.
Okay. Concern withdrawn, I guess, at that point.
I did not see in the packet any drawing other than the side view of the proposed 3-story balcony. Is that correct?
That's correct. They have not submitted a drawing for what I would think would be an appropriate rebuilding of what was there. I had just discussed that on the phone with the applicant. So I don't think we can at this point say, build it, because we haven't seen any drawings, but ultimately that's hopefully what would happen.
And even with the package submitted, he only submitted this drawing, which doesn't really show the side view. It doesn't really show whatever facade that is. Okay, is everybody ready to vote on this? Okay, someone needs to make a motion. Remember, motions are always made in the affirmative. Who wants?
In the case of HR-20-11-022 1578 to 1580 Bryden Road, move to approve as presented.
Is there on that?
This is Aaron Prosser. I'll second.
Okay, we have a second on that. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'm going to call the vote. Stuart Gibney,
No.
No.
Aaron Prosser,
No.
Jackie Barton,
No.
Clyde Henry, did not pass. Does somebody want to clarify as to, for the record, why it didn't pass?
Joseph McCabe adding that this does not meet the guidelines set forth for the standards of preservation, including the painting of a wall of a color that's inappropriate, removal of historic material that was not previously approved, and proposal of incompatible architecture, both for the district and lacking significant detail.
Okay, thank you. I think we are on to number 2.
Could someone, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
could someone
Yeah.
also list some of the things that are from code that's on the staff report, please?
Okay, Joseph, could you add the items that are on the staff report directly read out into code? Do you have that in front of you?
If you agree with those.
Yeah, just bear with me 1 minute while I pull the staff report citation up on this real quick. Okay, and that would be specifically, Connie, you're looking for the specifics of the sections in relation of specifics. Okay.
Yes.
So it would be the incompatible size, scale, color, material, and character, not meeting the environment and surrounding contributing property characteristics needed under section CC 3116.119, specifically related to those items in the 3-story deck, removal of the 2-story service and sleeping porch, and painting of the brick of a color that is not appropriate, specifically that the code requires a color that would mimic or be more in line with natural brick colors. And then the package being incomplete and or lacking detail despite staff having discussed the guidelines and the code with the applicant for what is appropriate in the way of new construction. And that, by the way, that would be covered under the standards for alteration, CC 3116-11, sections 2, 5, 6, and 9.
Thank you.
Okay, moving to item number 2, Bryden Road. Connie, will you take us through?
Yes, this is Shane Hunt is the applicant, and I believe he's present. So this application was partially approved at the November 19th HRC hearing, and what was approved is on pages 13 and 14 of the November 19th minutes. The existing front porch masonry foundation and privacy railing appear to be original to the house. Mr. McCabe and Prosser were designated a subcommittee to examine the front porch. And that was what the request at this time is to repair and apply smooth parging to exterior of the front porch masonry foundation and walls. Staff recommends that the existing front porch masonry, which is concrete foundation and privacy railing, should be repaired as needed and not parged, and any unpainted masonry should remain unpainted.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McCabe or Ms. Prosser, would you like to add anything to that?
So I did go out. I looked at this specifically this porch area. I think they've done a good job at actually just removing what probably was previously painted surfaces there. The way I look at it though is this actually appears to be just not block, as in like a CMU block product. I think this is early precast, probably dating from maybe the 20s or 30s. So it's going to be still a historic material in nature. It does look like that portions of the porch where that kind of, if you will, 3 courses up, there's a band that goes around that mimics where the slab comes through. It looks like the porch slab floor may have been replaced at one time. But in this case, I would not find appropriate the applicant's proposal to parge and then paint. What I would actually find acceptable in this case would be some minor repairs as needed, and to acceptably paint this a color that would mimic a precast or a natural stone that would be consistent. There is evidence, obviously the applicant cannot probably get much more paint off without starting to etch the stone. I would have worries or concerns about etching that if they get more aggressive with power washing or any type of chemical cleaner, just because some of the 20s and 30s materials may be porous enough that it may cause damage. So my recommendation would be to treat it like you would other precast historic surfaces, and to simply do minor repairs and painting it an acceptable neutral tone or color that would mimic natural stone found in the area. Very similar to the color of the caps that already are. The caps, by the way, are not painted on the top edge. So if they were to carry that color down in a paint form, I would find that as an acceptable solution if proposed by the applicant.
Okay, Aaron, do you want to add anything?
I did go by as well, and I agree with Joe. I think pretty significantly, and I think the direction that Joe has given on it seems very correct to me.
Okay, thank you. And I believe Sean Hunt is here this evening. If so, turn on his mic, and do you swear to tell the testimony before the commission this evening? If so, say I do, state your name and your association with the project.
I do. Shane Hunt. I'm the owner of the property.
Have you've heard what everybody had? Does that seem to be something you're willing to do?
On this, so a couple things on this. I spent about an hour there yesterday looking at it, and it is Joe, right? Joe is correct. This is kind of one of the rare houses on Bryden where everything's poured solid, and that was those aren't true stones. That's why the cracks don't stair step like normal bricks and everything. If we just correct that how you guys are wanting, because we've already filled in the joint so that, with it being winter, it doesn't span and contract anymore. If we paint that a light color and not able to smooth it out just on the porch area, it's going to stick out like a sore thumb. You're not going to be able to match it. It's kind of going to make those cracks just pop more. And that's why I wanted to just smooth the front only, not the foundation part around the house, just on the porch. Otherwise, I think it's going to stick out more.
I would tend to say that tuck pointing an older house, no matter what it is, and making some moderate repairs, that's the patina and charm of an old house, right? You're going to have little things. It's not going to look like a new construction project. It needs to be consistent work that is consistent, and the repairs need to be executed in a way that are consistent with what should be done as well for this type of product. I don't share maybe the same concern, especially after you give it a fresh coat of appropriate paint that would be appropriate for precast specifically. You know, this is probably not put on any typical latex paint or anything. You're going to have a masonry paint that's going to be very specific to this application.
Yeah. Well, anything we paint would be this the proper paint. You wouldn't use typical paint on that concrete. I agree. Okay, I spent about an hour earlier looking. Can you refer me so I could write it down in the guidelines where it says exactly what color I shall paint?
So there's no area in the guidelines that says you shall paint. What you need to really do is submit and follow up what paint you would like to select that would be a natural color. That the urging of a natural color is what is specifically in the guideline and is appropriate here. And so you can either look at masonry that's on the house or look at masonry colors that would be appropriate. There's probably a range of muted or beiges or tans or grays. You could. There's probably a variety of some gray of subjectivity but something that looks like a natural stone, and you could submit that to Connie. And I think I would be in favor of advocating that it could be done as a staff approval process to allow you to not have to come back to us this evening.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't want to sound like I'm not wanting to work with. I just drove up and down yesterday too, taking a bunch of pictures. And there's a lot of masonry that's painted that it's called urban bronze. It's like a darker gray. So I was just curious, and they're newer homes, and they're towards the east side of this home. And then were those approved? Is that an approved color? Because there's about 13 houses where there's 13 houses where the stone's painted, and then there's probably about 8 of them that are that color.
No, it's well. Again, I would have to say, or suggesting context, not knowing the specific houses, you could present them as a list of Connie. There may be other code violations out there. It does not. I mean, a dark stone color, a dark gray, would not be an appropriate color in the context of this house.
Yeah, I can say that when painting comes to me as a staff approval, which it generally is, I very specifically let people know that, they can't paint them white, they can't paint them, black or maroon or whatever. There are people that, do some painting, either not realizing that they need approval or they're just not applying, and they're not reported, or a code officer doesn't catch it. So those would be code violations if they were reported.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, Sean, here's what we can do. We can either make a motion for the application as submitted and vote it up or down. If you don't like the results, then you could submit a new application. Or we can amend your application to be more in line with what Joe McCabe is suggesting. And if that passes, then it would go over to staff approval for the color selection, and you would have your approval tonight. So what would be your preference on that?
Yeah, I won't parge it if the committee is not wanting it. Yeah, we'll do what you guys want.
Okay, then, well, it's not what we want. It's what the guidelines require us to go with. So, Joseph, would you put that in the form of a motion? I think we're at that point, unless anybody else has something else.
Sure. In the case of HR-20-11-023A as an apple, because we had broke this one up into a series of segments, 1711 Bryden Road, as discussed with the applicant this evening, and the applicant has consented to a revision. I move to approve as presented, specifically that the painting of the porch be a natural color. Color and appropriate paint selection shall be presented to staff for approval, and that the parging has been removed out of the scope of work specifically.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second on that?
Second, Jackie Burton.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on that? If not, I will call the roll. Jackie Barton,
Yes.
Stuart Gibney,
Yes.
Joseph McCabe,
Yes.
Aaron Prosser,
Yes.
and Clyde Henry also votes yes. The motion carries. Sean, do you have any other questions?
No, I just want to also thank you guys last time for letting us take that one sidewalk out on the side. We removed it. It looks a lot better
Oh, good,
without that.
good.
And it's going to look better once we get the landscaping done too. So
It's a beautiful
This is-
house. Best of luck to you.
This is actually a pretty big house in a pretty big spot on a corner lot, which, you know, I have to say this house has needed a rehab and some love for a long time. So, you know, thanks for doing this project, especially from the point of saving a house.
yeah, and we're gonna do it right. The guy messed up on one of the stairs, so I already told him they have to take them out and redo them all. So we're gonna make sure it looks really nice when we're done.
Good,
So
good. Thank you.
But
Thank you,
yeah,
Shane.
so I look forward to you guys walking through it when we have an open house. I think we're going to do a hidden prohibition style bar down in the bottom and like a wine area and stuff because the basement's just so big and unused. It'll be really neat when we're done.
Sounds fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item 3 on the agenda is 764 Ball Place. Will you take us through that?
Yes, 764 Kimball Place. This is for a new addition, and the applicant, architect, and owner are present. So this is to demolish this existing second floor sleeping porch above the existing first floor service porch, and to build a new second floor master bathroom addition above the existing first floor service porch. Concerns were raised at the November 17th hearing in regard to loss of historic fabric, including the second story of this porch and first floor windows. Revised drawings have been submitted, including new windows to reflect the character of the existing service porch windows and exterior trim to panelize the walls to reference the horizontal fenestration of the sleeping porch, service porch. And so I guess I'll read this whole thing. While CC 3116.11 standards for alteration number 2 states, the distinguishing characteristics of the property shall not be destroyed. The removal or alteration of any historic material or distinctive architectural feature shall be avoided whenever possible. And number 5 states, distinctive stylistic features and examples of craftsmanship that characterize the property shall be treated with sensitivity. But 3116.11 number 9 also states, contemporary design for alteration to a property shall not be discouraged when such alteration does not destroy significant historical, architectural, or cultural material, and its design is compatible with the size, scale, color, material, and character of the property, its environment, and surrounding contributing properties. The proposed addition retains the general footprint and scale of the original service sleeping porch, and the proposed materials are appropriate. Recommend approval as revised.
Okay, thank you. I believe we have some representatives of the project here this evening. If so, please unmute them and raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth in your testimony before the commission this evening? If so, say I do, state your name and your association with the project. John, why don't we start with you, but John, unmute first. Thank you.
My name is John Stevens with Sullivan Brook Architects. I'm the architect for the addition.
Okay,
I do.
Is the owner also here?
Yes, he is. Pat Sankville.
I don't see him on camera yet. There you are.
There he is.
Okay. Also, say I do, and state your name, your association with the project.
Pat Sinkfield, I do. I'm the owner.
Okay, thank you. Do either of you want to say anything in addition to what Connie's presented?
Well, yeah, I guess just touching on the condition. I know that we were responding to a comment from last month about the condition of the existing windows. And I think you can see from the photos that are up on the screen right now, there's been significant settlement in that back porch addition, and I'm not exactly sure whether those windows were rebuilt to have the divided lights not align with each other like that over time or what. But you know, given the condition that they are no longer, they're parallelograms. I don't think it's appropriate to try and reuse them in this condition. We're trying to straighten the addition out. But we have the new design does show windows that are the same size as this window throughout the addition. So, and then the additional trim that we were using was to try and, make reference to what you see pretty commonly in sleeping porches with the sort of continuous horizontal sill that wraps around the addition. So that was the motivation there.
Okay. And Patrick, do you want to say anything, or are you good?
No, I'm good. I think the windows that are existing were built in that manner to mimic the slope of the porch, because it was initially a porch that I think got enclosed.
Mm-hmm. Okay, commissioners, do you have any questions?
I don't.
Chairman Henry, I was one of the commissioners who asked about the condition of the windows since we were talking about demolishing original fabric potentially. And these pictures are really helpful. So I want to thank the applicant for documenting this. I would not ask the applicant to reuse these windows in their current state. I think you'd have to build a crooked window sash.
They'd look a little odd if you used them in a horizontal format.
Right, to fit them in that way. So this is helpful to have this closer documentation. So for me, at my level of review, this addresses the questions that I brought last week about the condition of the windows that we're talking about, and I appreciate the incorporation of the light pattern of the windows that we're taking out in the new design.
Thank you. Any other commissioners?
I would have no reservations about making a motion to approve as revised.
Okay, you want to go ahead?
Sure. Other commissioners may have questions too or comments, so I didn't want to go ahead and do it yet.
Any other commissioners have any comments? And comments are always appropriate even after the motion's made.
Okay. In the case of HR-20-11-024 764 Kimball Place, move to approve the revised application for the addition as presented by the applicant.
Hey, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, was that Stuart?
Yes.
Okay, Stuart Gibney made the second. So is there any discussion by the board members? Hearing none, we are going to go ahead and call the roll. Karen Prosser?
Yes.
Jackie Barton?
Yes.
Stuart Gibney?
Yes.
Joseph McCabe?
Yes.
And I, Clyde Henry, also vote yes. So the motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you for supplying the information that we need. I think everybody feels comfortable having made a decision in line with the city code. Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 4, they've asked to have that continued. Would somebody make a motion to continue it?
Move to continue.
Okay, Joseph McCabe made a motion to continue. Do we have a second?
Second. Stuart Gibney.
And Stuart made the second on that. If not, I will move the question. Joseph McCabe?
Yes.
Aaron Prosser,
Yes.
Jackie Barton,
Yes.
Stuart Gibney,
Yes.
and Clyde Henry also votes yes. So the item is continued to the January 2021 agenda. Item number 5 was moved to staff approval. So we're on item number 6, which is 757 Kimball Place. Will you take us through that?
Yes, the applicant is the resident, Michelle Wade. She was not sure if she was going to attend because she kind of thought maybe she knew how it was going to go. And I did send her my staff report here, but I did not hear back from her. So the request is to retain the existing framed-in aluminum storm door on the front porch as installed. And the following comments from the December 3rd HRC business meeting have been conveyed to the applicant. In looking at a photo of the house a year ago, the addition of a framed door on the front porch detracts from the open character and details of the craftsman house. And the commission has to consider whether this work would have been approved if an application had been submitted before the door was installed. Staff recommendation: introduction of the framed door alters the open character of the 2-bay front porch. Recommend denial of the request to retain the existing framed-in aluminum storm door. And our guidelines do not specifically address screen porches. So I looked at the National Park Service's brief 45, preserving historic wood porches, which say the open qualities are one key feature of historic porches. Other contributing features include the shape of the roof, the way a porch is divided into distinct bays with columns, and the nature of the supporting foundation. The style and size of columns and balustrade and the architectural style of a porch may relate to the building and may help define its character. So they did actually discuss in there that it can be appropriate to screen in a porch. But it was said that, you need to use very thin, narrow boards that are right next to the columns or railings so that they're not dividing the space further. And so I passed that on to the applicant that, there may be ways to screen in a porch, but this was not the appropriate way. And a different application would need to be submitted. So looking at that, and then looking at the last picture that we have, that's the porch without it, kind of shows that open space being divided there.
Okay, thank you. And I will ask again for clarification. Is there anyone here this evening representing the owner? I don't see anybody in the list here. Okay. So, commissioners, do you have any questions, concerns, discussion on this?
Go for it, Aaron.
I mean, I can't see I couldn't find my way to a justification for permitting this, that we would have come as an application prior to installation.
Right, yeah. And that always has to be our standard. When something's done, we have to think, would we have allowed this had it not already been done? Does someone want to put this into a motion? And again, remember that all motions are in the affirmative.
Jackie Barton, motion to approve application HR 20-12-009 for 757 Kimball Place as proposed to retain the existing framed-in aluminum storm door on the front porch as already installed.
Okay, is there a second for this?
Second, Joseph McCabe.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, we'll call the question. Stuart Gibney,
No.
Joseph McCabe,
No.
Aaron Prosser,
No.
Jackie Barton,
Now,
and Clyde Henry also votes no. The motion did not carry. So I guess we are on to our next item. Let's see, item number 7.
Real quick too, for Connie's clarification and for record on that, reflecting
please.
the no vote is that this just is not consistent with 3116.11 standards for alteration, items 2, 5, 12, regarding distinctive examples characterizing the property, appropriateness, and distinctive architectural feature, and being work that was performed without any previous approval.
Thank you. Okay, we're on to item number 7, 674 South Ohio Avenue. Connie, would you take us through that? Connie, you're on mute.
Sorry. I was saying that the applicant owner is Douglas Sweeney, who is present tonight. And this is a request to retain 27 new windows as installed. Existing windows are vinyl max insert windows, or pocket windows, they're also called, installed inside the original window frames. Work was completed prior to review and approval. Following discussion at the December 3rd business meeting, the rear fence and painting of the stone foundation and window sills to match the natural stone color was staff approved. I don't have the colors yet, but I will be getting those. The approved windows list include the following notes. 1, all new windows must be sash kits, sash packs, or full frame replacement in consultation with HPO staff. And 2, insert windows, aka pocket window replacements, are not approved. The approved windows list was established following several years of approved test cases. Some of the test cases were found to be successful, others were not, and were not included on the list. Appropriateness was based on details such as width and height of stiles and rails and depth of meeting rails. Pocket windows were not included because they place a window frame within the original frame, decreasing the amount of glass and the overall visual character of the windows. Recommend denial to retain the existing vinyl max pocket windows.
Okay, thank you.
One more thing, just to say, when you do insert, and this has come to the commission before in other cases, when insert or pocket windows are installed inside the frame, the existing frame, it does retain that, like in this case, it retains the molding, can't think of the word at the moment, the wood frame around it, the original, which is a good thing. But the thing that it also does is to reduce the glass or the windows or the eyes of the house. So the amount of glass that's in the window is reduced because you have essentially 2 frames around the window instead of 1 frame.
Right. I believe we have some representatives here this evening. If so, please unmute them now. Please raise your right hand for this evening. If so, and state your name and your association with the project.
I do. My name's Douglas Sweeney, and I'm a co-owner of 3 Cities Acquisitions, and we are the owner of the property.
Okay, thank you.
And I have our contractor Kyle here from Ag Construction also with me.
Okay, Kyle, would you also if you're going to speak also, say I do, state your name and your association.
I do. I'm the contractor for Matt Contracting for this project.
Okay, thank you. Your lighting is a little difficult to see.
Yeah, I've seen that. Let me see if we can.
Yeah, I think it's the glaring light behind you, maybe.
Yeah, we're gonna turn that off real quick.
Camera.
Yeah, we're gonna try to turn that off real quick and see if that helps.
Thank you.
Turn there. Is that better?
Oh, that's actually better. Yeah, you're recognizable. It's just we need to have for the legal record. We have to either be able to recognize your voice or have your face recorded. Okay, what would you like to add?
I'd just like to start for a second as the owner I'm looking for some compassion tonight from your group, from the board, and really appreciate the opportunity to respond. We feel like we've saved a house here. When we bought this house, it was rented by a hoarder, and if you could believe it, we took 10 40 cubic yard dumpster loads of material out of the inside of the house. And I think at the end, the poor lady was living on the porch. And we've made a beautiful home here that I would invite any of you in to have a cocktail with us at some point. But after this, as we near our completion, we find out that we have 27 windows that are not acceptable. And I'm just looking for some compassion. Kyle will get into the specifics. And we think we have a great home here and a big improvement to the community.
I can speak on the windows. The reason I use this actual window on probably 95% of our homes that we do. I like this window for a couple of reasons for this house. As you can see, to my opinion, there's plenty of glass still exposed. A lot of the windows that we found on your approved list actually has a wider frame. So as this is two frames in one, so to speak, the actual frame sets in behind the brick mold on the exterior, giving it the exact same look from the outside, the exact same look as a window installed on the framing. The reason we try to use this window on this application specifically is because we try to keep every piece of trim on the inside and outside. If it's in good condition, like this house, the interior trim was beautiful. We saved literally every single piece of base, casing, window casing, and we're in the past when we try to remove that for just even if it's been bad or just to remove it all in general, it's very, very hard to remove and not split or break trim. And my concern was if we break even on 27 windows, 3 or 4 pieces, trying to mimic that casing is very difficult for us to do. Even with routers and everything else, trying to mimic that's very hard to do. So we tried to use the most cost effective for one, even though we still had $30,000 in these windows, but the most high efficiency that we could get in there and that shows the most glass and the least invasive as far as install. We didn't have to take out any interior trim or exterior trim. We simply removed the window stop on the inside, and they're measured specifically for every single opening. They're within an 1/8 inch on each side of every single opening. We couldn't even put insulation in. They're so tight. So that's kind of why where we chose those windows. And I guess if we were to try to replace just a sash on them, we would be in essence doing the exact same thing, I believe, right? We'd be putting a window sash inside of an existing frame. Even though the window sash would be wooden, it's still sliding inside of an existing frame. All the frames were solid. There was no water damage on any of these windows. Obviously, if there was, we would remove them. But that's kind of where our thought process was.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else you'd say? Otherwise, we'll have the commissioners. Any questions or comments from the commissioners?
I mean, again, like the previous case, what we're held to is a set of standards that we have to adhere to, and that's your property, all of the properties that come before us. And we do have an approved window list. We also, depending on the condition of the window, we may not have even let you replace the windows in the first place, but we don't know that at this point. I again, like the previous case, I just can't see reason why we would have approved these windows had you come before us as an application.
I can speak on behalf of the existing windows. From my manufacturer, who's came out there to look at those, he's under the impression that they were original, which means they're roughly 100 years old.
Sure.
Single pane windows. So that's the only reason, I guess, because the heating bill would be so high to try to.
Understood. That's true of a lot of the properties we look at and a lot of the folks that come before us to ask to replace windows. That's not an unusual condition by any stretch, but we didn't have the opportunity to weigh in on what the conditions were.
Correct.
And most likely these windows would not have been replaceable under the code.
Right.
You could have done storms, you could have done other things.
So you would recommend leaving the windows as is and putting storm windows over top of?
Yes, that's what the law requires. And so we're really faced with a lot of stuff here. We have occasionally approved windows not on the list as test cases. That tends to be most common in buildings from the 1950s to the 1970s, that are more mid-century modern, and therefore sometimes need specific new solutions not currently on the list. Other commissioners, what's your, yes?
I apologize. I have a family medical thing happening this evening and I need to go, but I believe you still have a quorum without me. So
We do have a quorum. Let the record show that Jackie Barton has left the meeting. Thank you for your attendance this evening.
Clyde, I would just like to add one other additional comment here, which is when the applicant says show us compassion, it's not that we don't understand compassion or other things. We actually have to formally rule or make any decision based on the guidelines and the code, despite any emotional or otherwise, decision we'd like to render. So in this case, though, the applicant should be aware that if there is any thought that this is a financial hardship, financial hardships are actually defined in the code, and you would have to meet the criteria for financial hardships as presented in the code, which include taking a series of other steps to address the financial hardship first. So just be, I want to raise that as just for the applicant's own knowledge.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons also too on the window selection, because we had priced out wood windows to begin, even with cladding as well, and those windows exceeded $40,000 before we started.
Yeah, but the actual definition of financial hardship in the code isn't just the windows were too expensive. So that's why I'm just advising you that's not consistent with what we can rule on. You'll see the definition of financial hardship actually includes providing financial documents related to, I think, your financial capacity, inability to potentially sell the house to another buyer, to correct the action, some other paths. So again, we actually can only rule or make a decision, nothing personal, only on what is in the code.
Right.
Yeah. I also noticed the screen door. Added on the house. Is that in this location? Do you know?
The front storm door?
Yeah, and the front storm door also appears to be inappropriate.
Yeah, that's been
highly unlikely. Huh? That was approved?
That's been removed. No, we removed that.
Oh, removed.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not an issue.
Correct.
And I did notice that on the arch window, I think it was a single pane to begin with, probably fixed glass, and that's been replaced with a 1/1. Am I correct on that?
The double hung window? Yes, sir.
And it was originally a single pane fixed?
Picture window, yes, sir. We still actually have that window.
Okay, any other commissioners want to make any comments or ask any questions on this? I mean, there's a possibility that, you know, if we think these were appropriate as a test case, but again, we have to think in terms of, had this application come to us, would we have considered it for a test case? We always have to look at it, what would we have done had it been presented? Stuart, any comments? Okay, I'm not hearing it. Would somebody like to put this in a motion?
Motion to approve case HR-20-12-010-674 South Ohio Avenue as presented by the applicant.
This is Erin. I'll second.
Okay, we have a second, and we have I'm sorry, we have a motion and we have a second. I don't see Stuart on camera, but I can recognize his voice in the vote. Is there any other questions, discussion? If not, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call the vote on this. Aaron Prosser?
No.
And Jackie has left the meeting. Stuart? Stuart, you're muted. We'll return to him. Joseph McCabe?
No.
Stuart votes no. Joseph McCabe votes no. Let the record show that Stuart Gibney has also left the meeting. We still do have a quorum. And Clyde Henry, I also vote no on this. So the item did not pass.
And just for record in city file, rationale for voting no is just is just consistent with Code Section 3116.11 standards for alteration, sections 2, 5, and 12, and the presentation this evening from staff.
Mr. Henry?
Yes.
Mr. Henry, this is Mr. Sweeney. Am I allowed to ask a question at this point?
Sure.
I appreciate it. We want to maintain a good relationship with you and with the city. Well, is this a final decision? And could you comment for me, only from a knowledge standpoint, is there a legal remedy that I have to have this overturned by an appropriate next step? If you put yourself in my shoes, and that's just it's just a question. No malicious intent, I promise.
We take none, and I think for each of the commissioners, this is a very difficult situation for us.
It's a $50,000 decision.
We do not want to cause hardship to anybody in this city. We have a legal obligation to be consistent, where the next guy comes in and says, well, I've got these perfectly wonderful windows, but they're single pane, and I'm going to take them out. I'm going to put these windows in, and this other guy did it, and you let them. And so that's what we need to be consistent all the time with. And so we're only trying to be consistent. We're not trying to hurt anyone. So yes, if you would like to appeal it, Connie, can you tell them what the appeal process is?
Yeah, when I send the denial to you, Mr. Sweeney, I will send other information to you, including an appeals application and instructions on that. And so that kind of outlines information that Commissioner McKay was talking about what sort of approach you might want to take and what kind of information you would need to submit. And I do need to get that information back within 10 days after I email it to you. I will email it because of the situation we're in. We normally would send it certified mail, but I'll email it to you within the next couple of days. And then you would need to submit the application with your documentation
Okay.
in the next few days.
And where does the appeal go? And then I'll be my last question. Where does it go to? Does it go to Common Pleas Court or does
No,
it go?
there's a Board of Commission Appeals. It's called the Board of Commission Appeals. It's generally made up of commissioners who have served on Victorian Village, Italian Village, HRC for 20 or 30 years. So they all have a lot of experience, and there's lawyers and there's architects and different people on it.
We thank you all for your time. We understand you have a job to do.
I think we appreciate it.
Well, thank you for coming in. And future projects, and it's just unfortunate. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks.
We'll move on to our next item. Agenda item 8 was moved to staff approval, and so we are down to our last item, agenda item 9, 642 Wilson Avenue. Connie, will you take us through that? You're on mute.
I was just looking to see, I thought that the owner was going to be present.
David Lee Gray.
Yeah. But anyway, you could still give comments. I can pass those on. So this is conceptual review, exterior alteration to contributing garage, restore the bricked-in garage door opening per submitted photos, which actually is something that could be staff approvable if that's all he was asking for. And then to build a bump out addition. And at first I thought he meant that he wanted to make a hole in the wall, but he doesn't. It's basically to build a sort of a new storage addition on the north side of the garage for storage. He's sort of thinking of stucco and wood trim, approximately 10 feet long and 4 feet deep, and existing windows to be retained.
Okay, and this is a conceptual review.
Yes, and that's the photo facing the yard.
Okay, and David Lee Gray is not here. Okay.
No.
Commissioners, feelings on this?
I'm just confused at what the actual work scope is, though. I mean, we don't really have a drawing.
I am too.
Right.
So is it this elevation? I'm sorry, you guys just went past it. Is this the elevation where they want to add a bump out?
Yes.
So it would just take out those windows and add square footage to the garage?
No.
Is that?
My understanding that he wants to build something underneath it.
Oh.
Oh.
Underneath the windows, and the windows would remain the same.
And this side of the building faces the yard, or?
No, it's a side addition. It faces the street.
So just something little to put like lawnmower and stuff in? Is that what?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But I'm with Joe. I mean, if we don't have a drawing to look at, it's hard.
Right.
It feels, I mean, and it would be part of the structure, or it would just kind of be next to the structure?
I think it would be part of the structure.
This is honestly one of the most curious garages I've seen because it has a chimney and it had heating, and it's definitely got some character. There's a unique story going on here that I'd love to hear more about.
It's very cute.
Yeah, and there was nothing in the file. They've never applied for anything else, so there was no history that I could find.
I think we're probably all in agreement that if he wants to restore things, that's the staff approval, and we're all for restoring things. The bump out, I too was wondering, because I saw no drawings, and I tended to be not favorable to it. But if it's low and below the windows, it's almost like a little wall type of a thing. If I saw some, I'd certainly be open to looking at that as a possibility. I don't know. What about the rest of you? Is it worth him pursuing it?
Yeah,
Can
I
you
mean,
hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
This is David Gray.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Good.
I'm sorry. I was here all along, and I was trying to get unmuted.
Okay.
So I apologize for that.
Okay, David, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth in your testimony for the commission this evening? If so, say I do, state your name and your association with the project.
And we need to be
I
able to
do,
see
and my
you.
name is David Lee Gray, and I live at 642 Wilson Avenue. I'm the owner.
Okay, and you need to turn your camera on. Are you on a phone or are you on a camera?
I'm actually at work in between patients, and I don't have a camera on my computer. Is that going to be an issue?
I mean, since it's conceptual review, can we just talk about it with him? Does he need to be on camera?
Yeah.
Making a vote?
And I have spoken to him on the phone before, so I know his voice.
Okay.
And I have actually had interactions with his commission, and I actually recognize David's voice.
Okay, so your voice is recognized. We're good.
And I'm not that great to look at, so maybe it's good I don't have a camera.
So, David, what would you like to say? Can you, if you've heard what we've been talking about, if you can clarify anything, that would be great.
Sure. Just to make it real succinct, what I have, I think I have a really, and I don't know if Connie has shared my pictures with you or not. I have a really nice garage, but it's not quite functional. I have two doors that face the backyard that I want to keep exactly the same. Don't want to do anything to that. The two doors in the back that face the alley, one of them has been bricked in. Then I would like to open that up. And what I was thinking, because if you saw the picture where I put my very small car in, I have very little space, a couple inches on each side. I would like to make it, if I could, one big opening and make it look like a swing door that has hinges, but a door that goes up for two reasons. One, right now I can do it. It's like a 4-point turn to get in there, and I'm pretty flexible. I can get the car in there. I'm a good driver. But getting out, if you see the picture where the door opens, it hits the wall. I have to turn to the side and kind of scoot up, and my wife does as well. My wife's going to be 62, and I'm not quite that far behind her. I know as we get older, this is going to be harder to get into. So I'm wondering if I could just open that whole back as one big door, but do it like Michael Herman's door, that looks like it's swing doors, but it goes up. That's the first thing I would like to do if it's a possibility. And then, because I'd be opening up and putting two cars in there, I'd like to build a storage space on the north side if I could, to store some of the tools that I have in there. That's kind of what I'm thinking about, and I was hoping maybe you guys could either tell me yay or nay or give me some ideas and guidance.
And this storage space that you want to add, it's just kind of on the side of the building, right? You're not necessarily taking the bricks out or changing the existing structure. It would just be something that would be alongside the building. Is that right?
Well, I don't, it's kind of nebulous still, but what I'd like to do is attach it to the north side somehow, if I could, if that's a possibility. I don't know if I really want to put a metal shed up against the north side of my door. I'd kind of like to make it an extension of the garage, if that's a possibility.
Those windows out on the north side, would it, like, would you have access?
I'm sorry?
Would you have access from it, from the inside of the garage?
Preferably, I'd like to use those same, to answer your first question, I like those windows. I like all the windows in that garage. If I did an extension, I would like to use those same windows on the extension and maybe have that be the access to that storage, if that's a possibility. If it's not, I'm not married to any. The main thing I'm married to is being able to get in and out of my garage without doing a twist and turn. That's the main thing, the opening. The storage thing is I haven't quite figured that out yet, but I'd like to be able to have the access from the inside.
I guess what I would like to ask is a little bit more info. So one of the things that's peculiar about your garage is that where you're kind of proposing to take out the other bricked in area would also require the removal of what appears to be like a pilaster, but is clearly a chimney that goes up and through the roof. Mm-hmm. And secondarily is the side elevation tells us some other things. There's those two bigger windows, but then you've got this small window where the sill's pulled up real high. What was this even a garage originally?
Well, and forgive my ignorance on historic stuff. There's other people that probably could answer it. I do not know. I'm assuming my neighbor Tom Glass, before he passed away, said that this was where you could drive your carriage in and then go out either way. And that's all I really know. It's always perplexed me, that little window to the side. I know my neighbor, Mike Herman, has like 6 spaces where he could have horses, and he thought maybe this house originally stored their horse down there, and because it seems like it'd be kind of small to have a horse there, but I have no idea why that little window's there. There was at one time, it looks like a sewer line there, but it couldn't have been original because that was right in the way of the opening.
It's very odd to me, only because, yes, I noticed the sewer stack. You've got the high window, which is usually a sink, a bathroom, a something going on, or even a horse stall. It could be a single horse stall. But then I actually noticed that the source of heat is usually something that, even if it was an early car, quite often the early car collectors and you're not far from Driving Park, which gets its name from the early Driving Park track, is to make the cars go, you had to keep them warm, especially in the winter, to get them to start properly. So a lot of early garages had sources of heat in them to just keep cars at minimum temperatures. I would want to make sure that you really did have a door in that other part of the garage where you think you've got some, you've got brick right now, only because some of the brick kind of matches and looks right in some ways, with maybe just some discoloration and actual pointing, and some of the issues maybe being the repointing. It's the bond pattern matches from the back of the garage to the side of the garage. You've got the right bonding and the right coursing alternating from the back to the side. And with the chimney there, I think putting in a large garage door would actually be potentially removal of the chimney and historic configuration on this garage.
Sure. I will say that I definitely know that was opened. That other side, there's a seam that goes all the way up the, if you look at the picture, the right side of the chimney, you'll see it. If you can make the picture bigger, you'll see the seam go all the way up. And then on the right side of that, I have some of the ivy growing over. You can't see it. And when I first got the house, the original doors that must have been there, because there was 4 sets of them, were still in the garage. And I still have them in the garage that actually went there before they blocked that in. And on the inside of the garage, which I guess I should have taken a picture, you'll see where they plastered, and there's a seam where they put the bricks on the inside as well. And then on the front, they had 2 doors. And I don't know, are you looking, do you have a picture of my front of my garage, which would be in my backyard?
Mm-hmm.
You'll see that there's 2 sets of 2 doors that swing open.
Yes, very cute.
No?
Yeah, we can see that.
So that's where they would come in through that way, through the front driveway, and then on the back they had the 2 swing doors as well. So I think sometime after they got done with the carriage, they might have blocked this in, and they built something in there to have, like, because I have the sewer line and the gas line that I had to remove, and I had to remove the fireplace for insurance purposes. At least that's what they told me. I had a fireplace, old fireplace where you would burn coal or something, but my insurance company said I had to remove that in order to have it insured. I'm not quite sure. They came one day when I wasn't home and came into my garage, so I'm not sure how that happened, but I took that part off. So the chimney might be original, I'm not sure, but I'm almost 100% positive somewhere in the time that back was blocked in, because they have, usually your coursework doesn't have a seam that goes all the way up on both sides like that, and it fits the same opening as the windows would.
I mean, in my opinion, you could document this was originally a 2 door garage, which sounds like we might be able to get there. I'm looking at Google Maps, and the alley is extremely narrow. I see why you're doing a 4-point turn even in your fit. Document some of that and do a garage door that had some acknowledgement of that original fabric. I personally would be comfortable with it.
Let me clarify what you're saying so I make sure I understand. So what are you saying, that you would be okay with me opening the second door open? Or are you saying it would be okay to make one big garage door?
I think given one of our criteria for one garage door is alley, and so we need to understand the width of the alley. I'm looking at Google Maps, so it's not necessarily I don't. There you go. It's giddy. Our standard for a single door is the width of the alley and understanding maneuverability into the space. And I think if the garage door was appropriately designed to give homage to kind of that original function of that side of the garage, I think I would be comfortable. But I don't speak for the whole commission. I'm just giving you my point of view.
Sure. Well, I will say that in order to get into my garage at all, I have to swing out into my neighbor's. If you're looking at Google's maps, I have to swing onto his property, and he has been very kind letting me do that. And I think his kindness is he realizes I can't get into my garage unless I do that. And I'm hoping that a bigger door would keep me from going onto his property, because I know he doesn't particularly like it, but I think he wants to be a nice neighbor. And he's like, fine, you can keep going onto my property to get into your garage. And you'll see my tire marks on his property if you went out to the house, if you took a look at the house. So that would be one reason I really don't want to keep going onto my my neighbor's property, although I do appreciate him letting me. And two, I just don't think physically, as my wife and I get older, that we're going to be able to turn to the side and twist as we get out of the garage, because I can't open that door all the way. And those are my two reasons. I certainly do not want to ruin the fabric of any historical stuff.
I don't know, Clyde or Joe, do you have a differing opinion?
I don't have a problem opening the door. I'm still trying to play through in my mind removing the chimney piece in between, and if that's appropriate or not. I think a case can be made for it. I'm not adamant that would have to stay. I would just have to see some more reasoning, I guess, the measurement of the alley, the distances, and so forth. As far as the bump out goes, I guess I'd have to see a drawing on that. I mean, we do allow additions. We've had additions onto other garages. And so I guess we'd have to see what that is. I'm not adamant, no.
So my thoughts on this, Clyde, just so you get all the kind of commission comments to consider, is that after really looking at it, I don't believe zooming in on it on Google Earth and some other things, I do not believe the brick from the chimney matches the brick below. So I suspect the chimney was actually a later interjection or alteration.
Oh.
I would have no problem opening up the opening on the right-hand side. I don't know if I'm ready to be convinced yet that there's to go from two individual doors to one door. We've got to have a compelling enough case, just because we have a lot of garage doors, or we've made even new construction garages have two individual doors, to keep true. I just want to make sure that this is a well-documented case of measurement and some other things. I have no objection with any alterations as far as additions go to make old buildings usable. So I think really any proposed addition just needs to be drawn. So
I appreciate all that information. That's good to know. And if I could just interject too, I do know that my neighbor Jessica Myers had a new garage built, and you guys came out, or someone came out. She wanted one door, and I know there's some garages on Oakwood that they made them do two doors because their alley's wider. But when you guys came out, you saw that Jessica could not get in with a single door, so she was allowed to do one big door. Is that what I would need to document, or do you need to come out on your own accord? And that's either way, it's fine.
Do you know what the address was?
Of Jessica Myers?
Yeah.
She's 5 houses down, so I want to say, I'm 640. She's about 676, something like that. She's in a bungalow, and she had a new garage built. She's the 4th house from the end of Newton. Going in my mind, I could look it up real quick on the auditor's website.
And David, we have considered them on a case-by-case basis based on alleyway width and a few other things. So we just want to make sure that, when we're comparing it, we're comparing apples to apples and apples to oranges.
Absolutely,
I think, in the scenario.
Sure.
And as you start to gather that documentation, Connie can help you kind of determine what those different pieces would be that would help us determine that. So, Connie can certainly give you direction as you start to pull that information together.
Okay, so, and again, I'm sorry, just so for my own clarification, because I don't want to keep bugging you, so I want to make sure I have as much knowledge as possible. Would clarification show, should I film me actually trying to go into the garage without going onto my neighbor's property to show you that it can't be done? Would that be the documentation? Or do you actually need
measurements.
a measurement?
It's a measurement.
Okay.
Real measurements.
From just how the width of the alley?
Yep.
Width of the alley,
great,
measuring
great.
from center to alley to your door. If you can, find things on maps that are available, so that we can be assured that those are the actual measurements, and that we can go.
Absolutely.
That's what it is.
It would be much better if my garage did not. My driveway is probably not even 2.5 feet long. if my alley driveway, if my garage sat back more, I could fit in. But again, like I said, it's just no way. But I'll get you that documentation as well. And then the other question I have is, I don't mind for doing drawings, because certainly I would probably have to get somebody to do these drawings so they would be accurate enough for you to make a good decision. I just don't want to pay. I've already priced some of these out. I just don't want to pay someone if there's absolutely no chance of doing a bump out. And if there's no chance, then I'm okay with it. But if you think if I have decent drawings and the bump out was done, that there would be something to consider, I don't mind paying, however much is going to pay to do that bump out.
We have approved other additions, and check the guidelines on that. They need to be appropriate. They need to be in scale. Commissioners, what do you have to say about it?
I think it's a case-by-case basis on this scenario of, the applicant is asking for an accommodation to use it for modern living. I just would have to get an understanding of what the addition is that's proposed.
Well, and I think from a concept standpoint, we have a business meeting 2 weeks prior to our actual meeting. I'm the only non-architect left on the call right now, so I'm probably going to get lambasted by these two. But even if it was something that you could draw that could show us what your intention is without fully going to the point of working with the architect, but just giving us some understanding of conceptually what you're thinking, might give us some ability to give you really good feedback, as opposed to going all the way into full architectural drawings.
Sure. And I'm in no hurry on this, so if it takes me a while to get it, I'm okay. I'd rather take my time than spend $600 getting a drawing that was never going to go off the ground anyhow. So if you think that I can put something together, at least look, and then we can go to the next step, I'm okay with that too. Ultimately, I just want to be able to have my wife and I get in and out of the car without twisting our backs. By using the garage, I guess is what I'm saying. I'd like to be able to use my garage.
Right. Okay. Commissioners, any other advice that you wanna give? Otherwise, we're gonna wrap it up. Do you have any other question for?
No, just thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. And if I understood correctly, I'll just talk to Connie. The next step, I'll just chit chat with her a little bit, and we'll see where we can go from there in the business meeting. Does that sound fine with you, Connie?
Yeah, we can talk, and I can sort of, I'll send you a letter for one thing with some comments, and then we can talk about what I'm thinking, the commission thinking, and what you would need to submit.
All right,
and then you can come back another month with just a conceptual drawing and just more information about what you might want to do with the doors. We can talk through that.
Okay, no worries. And listen, I appreciate everybody taking the time to help me out with this, and have a very safe holiday, and we'll see you next month.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any old business? Okay. No new business. Stuart had to leave the meeting early. He did send me a message. He wanted me to wish everybody a Merry Christmas to you and your families, and blessings to all. on his behalf, as I also wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We hope
Happier New Year.
Happier New Year. And who knows, we may actually be all together and by May or June.
Fingers crossed.
Yep. We need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I will
Okay.
second.
Joseph McCabe made the motion to adjourn, and Aaron Prosser seconded it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Verbal. There's only three of us. Okay, the meeting is adjourned. Care and
Thanks,
see you in the
everybody.
new year.
Thank you. Bye.